We are very happy to present Marina Tabassum architects in Bangladesh at the Architekturmuseum of the Technical University in Munich.
So this is my first ever exhibition in 28 years of my practice. So we try to accumulate different projects here together that we have worked on, and we hope everybody enjoys it.
Marina Tabassum is an architect with a broad spectrum of works, reaching from residential buildings and mosques to housing projects for the lowest income. Her design concepts are based on elementary geometric forms, playing with volume, light and shadow. But her work is also strongly connected to the cultural and social conditions in her country, very often using brick as one of the traditional building materials. One of the main reasons to present her work here in Munich is her strong social engagement. She is using design as an instrument for change. To give one example, the women-led community center that she just finished is placed in one of the largest refugee camps, Cox's Bazar. The design was developed with the Rohingya refugees from Myanmar that live there to meet their expectations. It's a great privilege for us that she presents her first museum exhibition ever in Munich. I'm deeply convinced that Marina Tabassum's work is exemplary, not only because of its highest design quality, but also because of its ethical dimension.
What impresses me most about Marina Tabassum's work is that she deals with topics that are very important today. She acts here completely without fear. Quite the opposite, she looks closely, goes to the places, works with the people, and thus tries to find out, really explore what people's need and starting conditions are. Because of this approach to context, I thought it makes sense to divide the exhibition topographically. So in the first room, we begin to present a wide variety of projects that have been installed in the countryside, where people and nature still live together symbiotically. In the second room, we show the projects that were created on the periphery of Dhaka, Bangladesh's mega metropolis. Here people live in rather haphazard settlements, but where community still plays an essential role. The Bait Ur Rouf-Moschee has been built in this environment, probably her best known project, which won the Aga Khan Award in 2016.
In the past 45 years, through the Aga Khan Award for Architecture, we try to find talented architects who are not that known, which we put them with the people who are known, who've done something important for the communities. I knew the work of Marina Tabassum, but then when in 2016 we received this nomination for the mosque in Bangladesh, everybody was astonished. And once it won an award, it showed new ways of looking at architecture.
In the last room, you will see all the projects that have been realized in Dhaka city center. They are mostly high-rise residential buildings that respond to the representative demands as much as to economic pressures. This shows the breadth of her work, which cannot be assigned to a single category. She is a social committed architect, but also an architect of major building tasks.
The Ganges Delta, where Bangladesh is located. It's one of the largest deltas in the world. And so it's a very fragile, soft landscape where we have these mighty rivers which are constantly shaping and reshaping themselves. So this is a very dynamic landscape. And because of that reason, you see a lot of the vernacular, especially in the landscape of the delta. A lot of use of mud. And so in some of our projects which are located in the delta, we try to address these issues. In 2013, when we were offered the project Panigram Resort, that was the first time I ever went to the villages and actually stayed there. And in many ways, that was the first time when I was exposed to this whole notion of living with nature. And it felt like there is so much knowledge. And so when we were offered the project, instead of bringing things from the city, we thought we should focus on what is there in nature and what is there in the lives of people who live there, and which actually was also our main inspiration when we did the Venice Biennale installation in 2018, which we called The Wisdom of the Land. And so we thought, this is an interesting and very important value that we in the cities are missing, which is about sourcing material locally and using the techniques which are locally available, using local people, local craftsmen. And so, some values which I think can still be very much used in our daily architecture and life and in practice, even in the cities, where we can source locally and create something absolutely magical out of local materials. So from that point on, I think all my projects, quite often, we try to source local materials. So in 2019, we did some research on the coastal areas of Bangladesh, basically focusing on the geoformation, how the rivers move and change their courses, and new sandbeds form. We found a lot of people living in the sandbeds who are landless, who are ultra low income or almost no income, living off the land. And so during the COVID crisis, when we were in lockdown, and office didn't have much work to do because all our sites were closed, we focused on this idea that can we develop something which can be lightweight and easy to dismantle and to take it to a different location and reassemble, which can also be low cost and can also have 2 levels where people during flooding can also use the upper level. And based on these ideas, we created a few iterations. Finally, Kudibari came into being, which is here. Kudibari is basically a structural system where we use local material like bamboo as the arm, and then we have steel joints which connects the space frame structure, which doesn't require a lot of footing, so it's a very low, shallow footing is good enough for the structure. And so you see here, this is a life-size building, and it showcases how people actually can use it. The lower level, generally, the homeowners would cover it and make it a room of their own. And the idea of this building is it's scalable, so you can add to this structure, so it can become 2-3 structures and can become a much larger volume. And this is the same idea which we then used also in the refugee camps when we were offered by the World Food Programme to design women-led community centers and safe space for women. And in those areas also we added this Kudibari structure, which was easy to build, but also there are restrictions in the camps where we cannot use any other material than bamboo. So that really helped us in this situation, and also the foundation have to be very shallow. So that really worked for us. And so the Women-Led Community Center is designed that way, where we have the lower level for women to group together in sessions, and the upper level is for women to have their own space where they can interact with each other. The projects that we do, including the Kudibari, which we are building in many different areas in Bangladesh, we are now at the moment building about 100 Kudibaris through our foundation phase, Foundation for Architecture and Community Equity. And the way the project goes is basically we have community engagement with local people. We try to make them understand what the construction system is. It's an intervention into the vernacular, and for that reason it's important for us to talk to the people, to give them an understanding of what it is. And then based on that, we select people who are interested in trying out this idea of Kudibari. And we've built nearly 35 houses at the moment of Kudibaris in different locations in Bangladesh, which are climatically and geographically challenging areas. And similarly, when we work in the refugee camps, be it the Women-Led Community Center or even with the host community where we have built the aggregation center, the whole process starts with a community engagement where we discuss the program with the women who we work with, and we design the structures to some extent accordingly. The layout and everything is done with them, and then slowly we go into the process of building. And in every process we have community engagement. The community informs the project. The idea is to give them a sense of ownership so that they can own the spaces when they are completed. The peripheries of Dhaka is a rather chaotic situation. It's a place which is going through transformation, and I'm trying to always address this whole notion of order in a chaos or chaotic situation. Here, most of the projects that you see are mostly in brick. That's why we start with this section with the history of brick and how brick is a material from Bangladesh. And many of our old architecture, archaeologically, the monasteries, which are Buddhist monasteries, the temples, and even the mosques were all built in brick. And so if you want to source material locally, then brick is our material. So it starts with two projects, which is one is the community center in the outskirts of Dhaka, and there is another project which is a memorial complex, again on the outskirts, close to the river. I'd like to focus more on the mosque projects that we have built. We have 3 different mosques. One is the Alfadanga Mosque, the Bait Ur Rouf-Moschee, and the other one is what we call Memory 71, is a cyclone shelter and a mosque and a health hub, which is not yet built, but hopefully we will be building it. Bait Ur Rouf-Moschee is in the northern part of Dhaka city, where it's again a place that's going through transformation. It used to be an agrarian land, now it's being used as a settlement. And so in that area there was no mosque, so this was one of the first mosques that was built around that area. The mosque projects that you see here are again very brick-oriented projects where we have load-bearing brick structures and a large span where we do not have any columns, so it's a column-free spaces. Quite often you'll see the mosques that we have designed do not have any iconography or any symbolic aspect to it. Mosques are quite often, the way we design is about the spirituality of the place, the space which is much more about connecting with the divine. So the quality of space is about the light and how light is being used in the design to create that ambience of spirituality. And so you'll see a lot of play of light. These are very lively spaces that reacts to the sound and to the environment. Quite often through the light, it creates a very nice and somber atmosphere. And yeah, basically that's what we have. So here we are in the last room of the exhibition, where we are focusing on the city and the projects that we have done in the city. Honestly speaking, I haven't built a lot in the city because I try to avoid building for developers. So the projects have been quite nominal till date. So one project is our monument and the Museum of Independence, which we won very early in our practice through my earlier practice, Urbana. And it's a non-building approach project where we took the museum underground and it's placed within a park. So we try to retain the integrity of the park by making it very horizontal. Otherwise, we have different projects like residential projects, and an office building, which are high-rise buildings, Dhaka being one of the densest cities in the world, and it's one of the mega cities which is constantly growing, and there is lack of space, so quite often it ends up becoming high-rise buildings. We have several projects of that nature. And quite often my approach to these projects are about trying to make the building naturally ventilated with natural light as much as possible, so that it's a breathing building. These projects are quite often less dependent on mechanical means. So that's one of my approaches that I have done so far. So we end with this installation here, which is about the A5 apartment. We have a nature court, and it actually symbolizes my intention of including courts in buildings, which I think is the soul of any building, to have a court or an atrium. And this project is quite unique in the sense that we tried out recycled materials, and in many ways this is also a project where we tried out different kind of details and trying to address the whole issue of blurring the boundary. Bangladesh being a tropical country, we can do that, where you don't need a very hard climate control. So to blur that edge of indoor and outdoor was something we worked with.
We have worked on this book for several years, and we have about 11 contributors, so all amazing contributions and a lot of reflections on Marina's work. And we're covering 28 years of work, which of course it's a very comprehensive oeuvre.
For me, obviously, it's a very emotional moment where I see, all the projects in one book. I never had a dream of making a book, so thank you so much for making this happen.